You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
And so we await word on the ruling regarding Morgan Rielly. That said, it came down the wire a couple moments ago that it's going to be virtually done and not in person due to inclement weather in New York. It's the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Betano, Nick Alberga, and Jay Rosehill. What's going on, Rosie?
Nothing. I'm busting out the old computer today, though, and I had to choke that baby and give her a pull start, but we'll see if it'll get through the show or not. Sorry, everybody. Brings me back to a different time, though.
Yeah, it was a different regime, a different era of Leafs Morning Take, a previous era of Leafs Morning Take. And for those of you who've been with us for a long period of time, you remember the trials and tribulations that is Rosie's previous computer. So I think fingers crossed on that front, as we say, fingers crossed as well when it comes to the ruling regarding Morgan Rielly. They like, this is a shit show. I don't know what's taking so long, but I don't anticipate anything coming through the wire on this show, at least. Think later on today, probably.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get announced till later on this afternoon, but I don't know. It usually takes that long, doesn't it? I mean, a couple days here, there. I don't know what the hell, but it's just, I don't know. The in person's just so unnecessary to me. It doesn't mean he's going to get 5, even though I think he's going to. Um, I think it just maybe out of respect gives him a chance to say his piece, which I think you should get anytime like this in-person shit. Oh, we got to get on an airplane and go to like get out of here. Call the player. What did you see? What was going on through your mind? Let's go through the video together. Do it on the video chat or whatever. See how this happens. This is just unacceptable. And he's like, well, and just let him go back and forth a little bit. 10-minute talk, then hang up the phone, go back for an hour. Then he releases his statement. That's how I think it should be done all the time. But I think the players need to be able to have their say in it. So I'm glad for at least Morgan Rielly that he gets to give his opinion on what happened and how it went down.
Yeah, what's the point of an in-person hearing? Like, especially in this era of 2024, like Zoom's not good enough. I don't get that part. I don't get that aspect, but it's not going to happen here. Like, well, what's the difference that you see them in person? Like, can you speak to what the difference could be? Maybe.
No, I don't. Just the fact that I don't know, it's a hassle, so it's like an extra level of wanting to speak to them in person, I guess. The guy's not playing anyways, obviously, if you get an in person. I don't know. It's
Bizarre.
it is bizarre, but if you don't do the in person and you do the Skype or whatever, the video chat, then people are going to be like, well, why don't you do that for every single suspension, which maybe they're trying to avoid. So that's the only thing
Yeah.
I could think of. But they better be buying a lot of carbon credits for those jets going down to New York. I mean, that's awful, Nick.
It's funny you say that because like the algorithm on social media. The other day, I came across a tweet like bitching about Taylor Swift and how much she flies, how
Yeah.
much fuel she's. I'm like, man, that girl could not do right, but she is a Super Bowl champion. Let's sift through
No,
some of the
she's not.
comments. Yeah, she is. It's a joke.
No,
Let's sift through some of the comments, Rosie, from what some of the characters involved had to say after practice on Monday regarding the situation. We'll start with Sheldon Keefe. I thought everybody had some interesting conversation and sort of swaying the conversation in one direct location. But Sheldon Keefe saying, I think there's a history also of events that happen in Toronto and with the Leafs that get more attention and more hype than tend to lead to something such as this. Do you believe in the whole Toronto tax, Toronto factor?
well, not to the level that some people do. I mean, some people just go off and think there's a flat out conspiracy. I don't I don't agree with that to that level, but I mean this story was friggin' everywhere. I had people texting me from the boondocks about what I thought about this, and I'm on Calgary radio and they're talking about that multiple times on the country channel and the alternative channel, and it's like, geez, man, this is going everywhere. um it really made a lot of noise. And I do know for sure that when a ton of heat and spotlight is pointed at the NHL from the outside world, they scramble to do damage control. So I certainly don't think it helped matters at all. If this was down with a Florida against Columbus game, you could sweep it under the carpet pretty quick, throw them out 3-4 games and be done with it. And I think the only thing that's hurting them right now is the Perron suspension,
Yeah.
where you could grab a lot of parallels between it, and that was 6. So if you're going to bitch and complain, the first thing they're going to do is hold up the Perron suspension and say, what's the problem here? This is consistency. So tough one for them, but it's one of the things about the market, man. You got the most spotlight, the most people talking about you, and you're very polarizing. And if it's something negative, the league's going to want to get that quieted down as soon as possible, and not fan the flames at all with something controversial. So just being Toronto in Toronto just never seems to help you, no matter what you're talking about.
Again, all this comes back to how inconsistent the league has been, unpredictable. Like even dating back the last couple of years, like Nick Cousins, how many things has he got away with? Sam Bennett, that cross check in the playoffs, like it just seems like a different precedence when it comes to the Maple Leafs. And I know people are trying to draw, comps to obviously George Peros playing for the Montreal Canadiens and all that. I don't think it's that. But I
No.
do think Toronto being the market it is, everybody hates or loves to hate the Maple Leafs. Like that factors into everything. And I'm very, very curious, man. Like it just seems really doom and gloom with this whole thing where it's like everybody thinks that Peros is gonna lay the hammer down on Morgan Rielly, which makes no sense. Again, we're talking about the epitome of class in this city, in this market, not a repeat offender, a one-time offender. Apparently, we're chucking out the window that. But I don't know understand how everybody consensus around the league, not just Toronto, suggests okay, 1 to 3 games, but all of a sudden it's 5+ games, people calling for 10+ games, like it's spiraling out of control to your point, you know?
Well, some people are idiots. This is the biggest thing I've ever seen of Leafs hatred. I mean, I know it's out there. I don't see it too much, and I guess I'm involved more on Twitter on this type of thing than I ever have been. And things went crazy the last week or 4 days or whatever. But I really have saw the Leafs hate from the other side. Like people will say anything, just scathingly hatred and this
Yeah.
ridiculous takes. It's like, wow, guys. But I just keep going back to the Perron suspension. It's going to be, I think it's going to be bang on 6. If I had to put my money on it, I would say bang on
Yeah.
6 because it's easy. It's an easy out. It's heavy. No one can say that, all the I don't know. Everyone has to tiptoe around outrage these days, right? Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta do it this way, or someone might be outraged. And all those people that just get rock hard because I'm outraged and they just have nothing to do with their life, and they run around and just absolutely tear apart companies and people and industries and cultures and sports and everything else in the world. They just tear it down because they love being outraged, and they love the feeling of having someone scramble to change their stance on something because they squawked and squealed. And I feel like everyone has to kind of tiptoe around that, including the NHL. And if they
Mhm.
gave him one game, people would be outraged. And for the easy cop out for them to say my hands are clean of any problems is to give the guy 6, because then they just play the Perron video and say this is the model of consistency. This is the level we've put on a cross check to the head, and that's what you're going to get, and that's what Morgan Rielly's going to get, because Perron didn't have a big history of suspensions either. It's
Yeah.
so easy. It's such an easy out for George Peros to throw 6 out there and say hands are cleaned of this, move on. There's nothing you can argue about that, and I'm done with it. So that's my best guess. If it's more than that, I think it's complete horse shit. Like there's no reason to go more than that. I wish the Perron thing didn't happen this year, because you could go and pull out a whole bunch of other examples where it would totally muddy the waters of what they're going to do. But I think they're going to lean back on that Perron suspension.
I love how like this is taking so long to come down, and then you look at what happened on Sunday. It was the Super Bowl. It's like, well, they thought so highly of this whole situation where it's like they took the day off and couldn't determine things on Super Bowl Sunday. So we await word on that. I thought Ryan Reeves had some curious words on the whole Ridley Gregg empty net clapper. If you rewind to when I came into this league, he's probably still laying on the ice, which you sort of brought up yesterday, Rosie. I thought it was appropriate. I don't see how a kid that young thinks it's appropriate to do something like that. He goes on to say, these young kids these days are playing a different brand of hockey than I'm used to. The coach changed a little bit. The game's changed a lot. And it's unfortunate that's a young kid will that a young kid like that can get away with something like that. And then one of your best players is going to get suspended for it. Make hockey violent again. Get that tattooed on me. What do you think of Ryan Reeves' comments?
Mhm. It's not my style, man, to say that. It's kind of a shtick, and I don't know. He's kind of mean mugging everybody, and he likes to play the role a little bit, and that's fine. And yeah, I don't know. Not really my style. I don't. It's his opinion, and it's all good. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if he was out there, if he went up to him, I think he would have just given him a hard one in the arm and then just really roughed him up. And it's just because he knows what to do in that situation. He's been in it before, and Morgan Rielly's not. And it's just kind of a split second. It's kind of weird. Like you go to punch a guy kind of in the head with your glove on, but your stick's up. It's kind of, I used to just go with my one hand on your stick and go with the loose hand, and
Yeah.
I used to grab guys right here and just start hammering against the glass and try to throw them down and whatever. And I don't know, the stick up high, it's just like, I get it's in your hand and you want to kind of give the guy a shot up to the face, but the stick's in your hand, so it's going to be a cross check, which is totally different than a glove to the face. So I think Reeves would have been able to handle it where he didn't get suspended, and maybe he goes overboard and just because his reputation he gets suspended. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to go about. But yeah, I don't know, the sound bites and stuff. I'm not. I don't know. It's kind of sideshowy. I don't love that stuff, but that's his mo these days. And um, he's making. I don't know if he's making a brand for himself or what, but I mean, I don't love it or hate it. I just kind of like roll my eyes and say I wouldn't put myself out there like that. But it's, I don't know. I'm not bashing. It's all good. I'd like to move on, Nick.
You know what's funny is that like Ryan Reeves was brought in to make sure shit like this doesn't happen, and he's put on the ice after the fact, and he told somebody to go fuck themselves. That's about it. That's all that happened there. So again, we can have this conversation as the year goes on. The Ryan Reeves thing, it really hasn't made the impact that we expected. The first couple games, yeah, but he scored a goal against Winnipeg. Great to see, but I'm very curious to see what happens between now and March 8th when it comes to the bottom six, when it comes to the fourth line. There's still 2 years left on that contract for Ryan Reeves. I thought Austin Matthews made me laugh too. His response, it definitely deserves a reaction. Well, if it deserves a reaction, why didn't you do anything? I mean, he barely showed up to that scrum. I just don't think it's really necessary to go down there and hardest shot competition into the net. Matthews was then asked if he's ever seen something like that before. No, pause. Just last week at the All-Star game. I was also laughing. I saw Willie Nylander. All he did was laugh. The guy didn't even know, I guess, that they don't play Ottawa again this season. It's country club feels, whatever. We move on. Like, and that's the whole problem with this team. I mean, pardon my sarcasm, but this is truly the problem with the team, that it's just Morgan Rielly and then everybody else. Just like they showed up, but it was like half-assed. Like, why are we doing this kind of shit, you know?
I don't know. It was kind of taken care of.
Was it?
The scrum. Well, Morgan Rielly, yeah, like the guy cross-checked him in the
And then he
fucking
jumped,
head
and then
and
really
dropped
Greg
him and
jumped
took
into
a
the ice. He took a
five,
fucking
6 game
dive.
suspension, and you're saying not enough was done. I mean, the response was pretty big. I did like someone putting the timer on Mitch Marner's amount of
9
time for him
seconds.
to get involved. 9 second, or what did he do? Go do a couple hot laps first? But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, you got your skill guys out there with an empty netter, right? So it's not like your fourth line's out there to mix it
Yeah.
up. And I don't know. I love the response. And again, everything would have been off without a hitch, and the whole mentality would be so positive, and we'd be talking about completely different things if his stick was just lower on the guy's shoulder. And
Yeah.
it would have been a great, you dumb young prick coming in here to the NHL, hot dogging that bullshit stuff like that. We don't do that. We are men here with a bit of an honor going on to the game and respect for each other. When you cross it, you answer a bell, and that's why you're on your back right now with three guys just hammering you with their gloves. That's awesome. But he gets up in his head, and it's a whole different story, and it sucks. So is what it is. I don't know what else to say besides just you can't get the stick up in a guy's head. It's
Yeah.
literally one of the only things you can't do besides like spear a guy. Like you could go up there and you could have just ran him into the boards
You
with a
can lick
full
a
on
guy
body
too.
check. Huh?
Yeah. You can lick a guy too. Brad Marchand did
Apparently.
that.
I know. I don't know, man. It just sucks. The Perron thing just throws a wrench into the whole thing. Otherwise, I'd be bitching and complaining, saying this is 2-3 max. The guy's not hurt. They're diving all night. He's out there smiling right after. Like, I don't know, but they want to shut it down. It is what it is, man. I'm always on the wrong side of it. I'm a fucking dinosaur. I like the old school rock'em sock'em hockey. I like it when guys police themselves, and I'm a freaking dinosaur because all the lawyers are calling the shots now, and it sucks. So whatever, man.
Look,
Seven
I mean, is
games.
it too much to ask for just to get that signature John Tavares fight? I thought we were going to get the signature Austin Matthews fight in the playoffs last year, and with Steven Stamkos, and I don't know what that was. It wasn't a fight. Like we're not going to get it. That again, people come at us and say, "Hey, we're too hard, we're too heavy. Lay off the core four." That's all we're asking for, man. Just one signature moment to let me know that you fucking care. And to this point, I still don't feel that way. Like I feel like we have this convo every 2 months. A couple months back, it was the Liljegren hit, Marchand, Boston, no response. They had a team meeting. Apparently that solved everything, but it didn't. So it's the same conversation every 2 months. And again, it stirs back to the same convo about the core four. The same players are in that room. We're gonna leave it at that because again, we could talk about this for days. We could also talk about today's guest, Brayden Schenn. You want to talk about character? The captain of the St. Louis Blues. We had a chance to catch up with him last night, right?
Yeah, it was good. His Wi-Fi was acting up, or maybe he was using my computer or something. But it got a little funky. But your editing skills, I think, took to it. He offered to come on live and do it again this morning, but I just think with the technical problems we had on that old Sasky boys end, that was too big of a risk.
Oh
he,
shit.
he looked like me early on, but no, it's good to get his perspective, man. And yeah, I mean, I remember playing with Brayden. He did all the right things. He's a consummate professional, and I'm not surprised at all to see him wear the letter C for an NHL organization. So picking his brain was good about it. He's in Toronto. He's not a stranger to being in town and knowing what's going on there with his brother playing for them for so many years. So it's good to catch up with him, and we'll see what the Leafs have in store tonight. But man, is that line and the betting thing? I guess we can talk about it on the
Yeah.
Betano wrap up. But good Lord, is that ever a wild line?
It is, and stay tuned for the Brayden Schenn interview. We did ask him about the whole Morgan Rielly thing, and I think the proof is in the pudding when you hear his answer, and we'll go over that at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, where you could subscribe. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcasts as well. Brought to you by DoorDash. It's time for the appetizer. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off, up to $10 in value, and zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app. Enter code NATION25. That's code NATION25, all uppercase, for 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms apply. So plenty of practice notes. Among them, of course, Morgan Rielly is going to be out indefinitely, but Jake McCabe and not Timothy Liljegren running the first power play unit. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. They must have just fallen off of Lily a little bit and want to get McCabe going. I think more onus is going to be on his shoulders here in the next couple of weeks, coming up with the suspension coming down the barrel. Um, yeah, they might. I mean, I'm okay with it. He's pretty. Maybe he's more defensively responsible, which is something weird to say about the power play. But sometimes they get out there and get a little trigger happy. And I remember last year the amount of breakaways and odd man rushes and shorthanded goals they surrendered was horrendous. But yeah, I don't know, Keith. You listen to his comments last night, and he's just talking about you got to move everybody around, give everyone a shake. This is gonna put players in different positions. They want to get Brody back on his left side, and typical Sheldon Keefe stuff, which he's not scared to mix it up, and he likes to blend things up and see if he can find a formula that works. And obviously, he's trying that here with the game tonight.
The Leafs don't get power plays anyways, right? I think you lose sight of the fact that on Saturday, second time this season, the Leafs were not awarded a power play in that game. They had one pending, but then Austin Matthews scored the opener in that game. And way back when in Buffalo and his World Junior days, I believe Jake McCabe was an offensive-minded, PP quarterback type player. So maybe he can throw it back a bit. But again, this has to be by committee on the back end. I put out an article just moments ago on the LeafsNation.com just talking about the back end. They were 14-2-1, if you recall, last year without Morgan Rielly in the lineup. And they were routinely dressing names like Victor Mete, Mac Hollowell, Connor Timmins. Like, it can be done, right? I think there's this misconception that it's doom and gloom and Morgan Rielly's out and this team is finished. I think this is actually a moment where the Leafs could use sort of as a rallying cry and really push through defensively. I mean, Easier said than done with this team, but certainly I don't think it's the end of the world. I just think they need guys to elevate, and McCabe's one of them. Timothy Liljegren is one of them. I'm just curious, that first power play unit, Morgan Rielly has ran it for the majority of the season. Will there be any impact with somebody not named Rielly running it? Probably not, because you have the big boys, but I'm very curious to see how their first power play looks with these guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And to your point before, I mean, yeah, they went on that tear last year without Morgan Rielly. And the only thing I could point to that is being, when their backs against the wall and they know there's a big red light on in the room that's like they're like alert, alert. Things are, this is something to pay attention to. We are without our number one guy on the back end, kind of the glue that at a lot of times even holds that back end together, which is flimsy at best, in general with Morgan. So I don't know. Like, the only thing I could point it to is just everyone's on high alert, understanding, the assignment. We have to all step up. This is something we can't let it slide by. Our backs against the wall. We are depleted without him. Like, it's just everyone kind of pays attention and needs to step it up, which would speak to the narrative of on the everyday normal games. They don't have that at all. They don't have any urgency. They don't have any, worries out there. It seems like they don't seem to put their foot on the pedal and bear down and grit their teeth, and hence their results, especially against lower level teams, which we've talked about. So now maybe without Morgan Rielly, everyone's looking around going, holy shit, we got to really band together and play with some jam here and make sure we're doing the right things and have our system and defense all really responsible and everyone's buying in because you're depleted. That would make sense to me. But this isn't last year, and that hasn't happened yet. So we'll see how they do respond without Morgan Rielly. But without a doubt, they'd be smart to everyone step it up a notch.
A bunch of lineup news just coming out moments ago. Sheldon Keefe saying Connor Timmins has mono. He's out indefinitely. Mark Giordano and David Kampf are good to go. They'll play tonight against the St. Louis Blues. Giordano missed 1 game with a lower body injury. Kampf missed 3 games with an undisclosed injury. And here's the kicker. Martin Jones is hurt. So Dennis Hildeby will be called back up, and he'll back up Ilya Samsonov tonight. And kind of fascinating with Joseph Wall and his return seemingly around the corner. He returned to practice, first full practice, by the way, on Monday since sustaining the ankle injury back in December. So Martin Jones, I guess, injured now.
Well, what's Connor Timmins doing, out smooching girls or something? That's the kissing disease, there,
I
Nicky.
had that back in high school.
I bet you did. I've seen you work.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I went to the bathroom once, came back, and you were playing tonsil hockey there in King West. Goodness gracious. But
I
yeah,
don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't hear
No,
about
no,
that
no.
Jones thing. That's an interesting layer. Honestly, that's just been like this little light at the end of a tunnel for me is getting Joseph Wall back and seeing what he has to offer. And my goodness, it's a long, grindy process with those goddamn high ankle sprains. We knew it at the time, but it seems like it's really dragging on. This whole season seems like it's kind of,
I know.
I don't know. It's like spring is close. Someone told me like spring's like 35 days away, and the All-Star break's over. Maybe it's because it's a mild winter this year, but I'm like, hey, let's go playoffs. And it's like Wall's not even back. They still got like 30 plus games to play. It just seems odd, but I am waiting for Wall to get back, and I'm gonna do my best not to like build it up and expect him to be, some savior coming in, but some positivity and having a something really good happen is definitely something we look forward to here right now. So that's something I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to, as I just said. But yeah, with Jonesy out, that's interesting. We had Hill to be up all for quite a while there, man. They were dead set against giving him his first game in the NHL. Obviously, they were riding
Yeah.
Jones like a bloody mule. So I don't know, man. We'll see if he gets a shot. I just want Wolsey back. Be interesting, man. It'll be interesting. I think it's going to be tough because everyone's going to talk about that, his first game. He's going to ask a trillion of the same questions to the same media guys about how are you feeling and what do you know? Oh, I just want to get the first period out of the way and all the same bullshit. It's difficult to be a